heard a Liberal senator talk about an election happening next year in a speech from yesterday. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we were safe from elections until May 2025?
Yes, that's what we all thought, but James McGrath is a very canny watcher of politics and mover of politics. He knows what's going on quite often. Sometimes James is colourful and stirring the pot. Sometimes he knows things and lets a few things fly. And I suspect that he knows something going on. But we've also seen the Senate calendar, the parliamentary calendar, basically reduced considerably, Alexandra. So there's a lot more spare time next year for campaigning and a lot less time when they're going to be tied up in the Senate, actually trying to run the country. And so there are also thoughts, not threats, but thoughts that Labor might take on a double dissolution. Because what they'd be hoping for is that Dutton's popularity has not risen. Oh, well, sorry, should I say Albanese's popularity has not fallen as much as it will by the end of next year. So they might be able to go to an election and get themselves another 3 years, because this government is looking more and more like a one-term government. You remember the Rudd slide? When Rudd dropped dramatically in polls once people worked out he was a con job. Gillard, the same, and they called that the Gillard slide. Well, the Albanese slide is even steeper. And so I think Labor is panicking. And of course, Rudd put in his measures for making it more difficult to change the leader. So Labor's in quite a bind because, look, they've ignored the basics. Cost of living, housing, rental rates, energy, all of these things are doings that are coming from the Albanese government or the Albatross Airways government. And so they're trapping themselves. They can't address any of those things because they've got energy policies that they're pushing. So they're locked in. And we've got inflation. People are really hurting, and they're taking no interest in the bread and butter issues, the basic issues that are important for Labor's heartland. And so what's happening is they're talking about, the foreign visits, and they're talking about the vibe in the referendum, but they're not addressing people's real issues, and they're getting into desperate problems.
Well, if this really is Airbus Airways government style, then basically we're run by a government with no check-in procedure, no security checks, and the government pays you to fly on their aircraft. That's what we've currently got going on here. But we know that there's a real left-wing coalition going on in government because we see this sort of legislation pass by. We know that it's not being disputed properly or checked properly, and the Greens are there, the Teals are there, as you said, the Labor Party's there. But what about the Liberals? Is there any kind of conservative pushback, or are you and other freedom parties effectively alone trying to bring some sanity and some freedom back into Australia?
On many of the sensible bills where sensible positions we took on bills and opposed, or even motions opposed, the Liberals were nowhere to be seen. We had some, like Gerard Rennick, Alex Antic, Ralph Babet, he's not a Liberal, Matt Canavan, who opposed the identity verification bill, and of course Pauline and myself, and they rallied around us and they complimented us for our speech on opposing the identity verification. So there is a little rump forming within the Liberals, led by Alex Antic, joined by Matt Canavan and Gerard Rennick, and also Ralph Babet. So you can guarantee that six will be holding the flag of common sense. But the Liberals generally go missing in action. And they've got increasingly now, they've got Dave Sharma, Maria Kosovic and Andrew Bragg, who are looking like tired members of the Labor Party. They're pushing really woke policies. So, and then you've got Dean Smith and Simon Birmingham. They're not Liberals. They're not Liberals at all. And so quite often they'll require the Liberals to run into hiding and get out and abstain from a vote. But the Liberals supported the identity verification bill, and they probably pushed through the digital identity bill because the digital identity bill was first introduced by Scott Morrison's government as a talking point. Let us have a look at it during his term.
I'll never forgive Fletcher for that. Never in a million years. I mean, that sort of stuff should not come from our side of politics. I mean, generally, conservatives, libertarians, you shouldn't draft policy like that. It's ridiculous, and thank you for opposing it.